All right, so get ready because today we're going deep, really deep.
Sounds fun.
It is. We're diving into this thing called the size range theorem. Based on what you sent me, it's like this crazy mix of like philosophy and physics,
Oh, yeah.
even some evolutionary biology in there.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating framework.
Okay, so we're going to start with something everyone knows is true, like you're thinking, so you must exist, right?
Right.
But get this, from there, this theorem builds a case that there's like this infinite range of sizes in reality.
It's wild, right?
It's wild, and then it like somehow ties into things like human behavior and maybe even alien life.
Well, the source material says so.
I am so intrigued. Let's get into this.
All right, well, let's start with that familiar idea, like you said.
Okay.
I think, therefore, I am. I mean, Descartes figured that out like ages ago, right?
Yeah.
You can't really doubt that you're thinking without, thinking.
Right.
So that very act, like proves that you exist. So it's
Yeah.
something that everyone can relate to.
Absolutely. It's like the most basic truth.
Exactly. And so the source material uses that to springboard into this whole concept of distinction.
Okay.
So you, the thinker, are separate from your thoughts.
Okay, so distinction is that separateness.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And that's the first, main part, the first pillar of the size range theorem.
Interesting.
It's all about how we, experience reality as separate things, right?
Right.
But there's, another side to this.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called anti-distinction.
Okay.
And that represents, a state of oneness or, unity.
So it's like we see separate things, but there's this connection between them.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Interesting.
And actually, get this, the source material talks about how EMCC...
Wait, Einstein's equation.
Yeah. It says that's a perfect symbol of anti-distinction.
How does energy and mass equal, oneness?
Because it shows that energy and mass and even space-time, they're all fundamentally connected. It's not just a beautiful equation, It's
Yeah.
really a statement about how everything is woven together.
I see.
It's
Okay.
kind of like the idea of yin and yang.
Right.
Or, how everything in nature is interconnected.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So we've got distinction, the separateness and anti-distinction, this unity.
Right.
And so that leads us to the infinite size range.
So the size range theorem is saying that, reality exists on this scale,
Yeah,
but it goes infinitely in both directions.
that's what it says. So not just bigger and bigger, but also smaller and smaller forever.
Infinite. Whoa, hold on. I need to wrap my head around that.
Well, imagine a scale.
Okay.
And on one end, you've got those tiny, tiny subatomic particles, so small we can't even see them.
Right.
But on the other end, structures so big they make galaxies look like specks of dust.
Wow.
And it just keeps going, forever in both directions. No end in sight.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
That's the size range theorem.
Okay, so you're saying there could be things out there bigger than entire galaxies.
It's definitely a possibility, according to this theorem.
Wow.
And remember, we're talking infinitely small, too.
Oh, right.
So, the world inside a single atom could be just as huge and complicated as the universe we see.
Oh, man, I'm already having an existential crisis.
Yeah.
But if reality is this unbelievably vast, how can we ever even try to understand it all?
That's where things get even more interesting. You see, the source material says that because we understand reality through distinctions, that separateness,
Right.
we can never truly grasp the entirety of this size range.
So we're stuck with just this tiny sliver of reality.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like trying to understand the whole ocean just by looking at one drop of water,
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
But even with just that one drop, we can still learn so much.
True.
And the size range theorem gives us a way to see how our limited view fits into the big picture.
Okay, I can see why this is so interesting.
Yeah.
It's like we're looking at this giant cosmic puzzle, and this theorem gives us some clues about how it all fits together.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, this isn't just some abstract theory.
Right.
The size range theorem impacts how we understand evolution, human behavior, even the big questions about religion and alien life.
Whoa, hold on, slow down. Alien life. How does that even fit in?
Well, think about it this way. If this size range thing is real, then, the requirements for life might not be as strict as we think.
What do you mean?
Life could exist at sizes we haven't even thought about.
Oh, wow.
Maybe at the level of molecules or even on scales that are way bigger than galaxies.
So you're saying there could be aliens out there that are so different from us, we might not even know it's them if we saw them.
That's a real possibility.
Wow.
But that also means that we might need to completely rethink how we search for alien life. You know what I mean?
Right, like our ways of looking for them might be too limited. So instead of searching for planets with water and atmospheres like ours, we need to think about the possibility that they could exist in completely different conditions,
Yeah.
at totally different sizes.
Exactly. It's like we've been looking for a fish in the ocean.
Right.
But what if there are things living in the air or down in the deepest parts we can't even reach?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good
We
point.
might need like whole new tools and ideas to even find them.
This is making me think about what the source material said about the Big Bang.
Oh, yeah.
How does the size range theorem fit in with that?
It actually has a really cool perspective on the Big Bang.
Really?
Remember that energy mass space-time thing we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, the source material uses that to describe the universe like right before the Big Bang.
Oh, right, like when it was just one super tiny point, a singularity?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
there was no space, the way we think about it, you know? Everything was all packed together in this super dense point.
Okay.
But then, boom, the Big Bang happened and suddenly everything separated and exploded outward.
So the Big Bang was like this huge separation, like a burst of distinction from that starting unity.
You got it. And the source material says that this separating process, this distinction thing, is still happening today
Oh, wow.
as the universe keeps getting bigger, you know.
So like new stars, galaxies, planets.
All that, yeah,
Right.
it's all about increasing complexity and distinction.
So it's like the universe is constantly unfolding from that first oneness.
Exactly. And this unfolding happens everywhere, from the super small level all the way up to the cosmic scale.
Wow.
And the source material even connects us to evolution,
Oh, really?
saying that life itself is like an expression of this ongoing thing, you know, distinction coming out of unity.
So we've got this infinite size range, this constant unfolding from unity to distinction, and evolution is part of it.
Yep, that's the idea.
Man, that's a lot to think about.
It is, yeah. But there's another really important thing the source material talks about.
Okay, what's that?
No single place within this infinite size range is more important than any other.
Huh, what do you mean?
Like, no size is central.
Oh, so even though we like to think we're at the center of everything, humans are just one example of distinction among many.
Exactly. We live at a specific size within this huge spectrum, but there's nothing special about our position.
That's both humbling and mind-blowing.
I know, right?
It's like that saying, the universe doesn't revolve around you.
Right.
But this takes it to a whole new level.
It really does. But you know, it's also kind of freeing.
How so?
It gets us away from that human-centered point of view,
Yeah.
and it allows us to see ourselves as just part of something much bigger.
That makes you think about how different our view of the universe would be if we always thought about it like this.
Definitely. And the source material actually goes further. It suggests that this change in how we see things could have a huge effect on how we deal with big problems facing humanity, like conflict and environmental issues.
Are you saying that understanding the size range theorem could actually help us solve global problems?
Well, think about it. If we stopped thinking that we're the center of the universe, and we really grasped this idea that everything's connected,
Yeah.
it could make us feel more responsible for the planet and all the life on it.
That makes sense. It kind of shifts our focus from me to we.
Exactly.
But to be honest, I'm still struggling with this whole infinite size range thing.
Yeah, I get it.
It's so far outside of our everyday experience, you know?
It really is. Yeah.
Is there like a way to understand this better?
Well, the source material actually uses some good analogies. Imagine you're looking at a painting, right?
Okay.
From far away, you see the whole picture.
Right.
But up close, you see the brush strokes.
Okay.
And if you had a microscope, you could see the molecules of the paint itself.
So the painting is like reality,
Mm-hmm.
and how close we are, like our perspective, determines what size we see.
Exactly. At each level, there's a whole world of details that you wouldn't see at other levels.
Right.
And the size range theorem says that this zooming in and out, this exploring of different sizes of reality could go on forever.
So there are endless layers of reality, each with its own rules and properties.
Precisely. And our understanding of the universe keeps growing, revealing more and more of these layers.
But even with all our scientific progress, we're still only seeing a tiny bit of this infinite reality.
That's right. But you know, the size range theorem isn't meant to be a final answer to everything.
Okay.
It's more like a way of understanding how huge and complex existence is.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder to embrace what we don't know and to look at the universe with wonder and a little humility, you know?
You know what? This reminds me of our conversation about religion earlier.
Oh, yeah.
If this size range theorem is right, then our traditional religious ideas, based on a limited universe and a separate God who intervenes, might need some serious rethinking.
You're hitting on a really key point there.
Yeah,
The source material argues that these traditional religious ideas might not work so well when you consider this infinite size range and the underlying unity of everything.
that makes sense.
It suggests that we need a new way of thinking about spirituality,
Wow.
one that embraces this hugeness and connectedness of the universe.
So instead of searching for God out there, we should look for the divine in the connectedness of everything itself.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of the most fascinating ideas in the source material.
Oh.
It hints at this possibility of a universal language shared by all intelligent life in the universe.
A universal language.
Yeah, a language rooted in the basic principles of existence.
Wait, are you saying that science itself could be that universal language?
It's a bold idea, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. The laws of physics, the principles of chemistry, how evolution works,
Right.
these things seem to be constant everywhere, no matter what size you're looking at.
So if we could understand these universal laws on a deeper level,
Yes.
if we could grasp that underlying unity that the size range theorem points to,
Yeah.
could we communicate with other intelligent life? Maybe even connect with this universal consciousness?
Those are exactly the questions the source material leaves us with. It's a really fascinating exploration of the nature of reality and where we fit into it all.
This deep dive has really been a journey. We started with the simple fact that we think and therefore exist,
And we ended up here.
and now we're exploring the mind-boggling idea of an infinite size range.
Mhm.
We talked about evolution, religion, even the possibility of alien life.
And through it all, this size range theorem has given us a way to expand how we understand reality.
It really has.
It reminds us to keep learning and keep exploring and to remember that the universe is full of wonder and possibilities.
It truly is. But there's one more really interesting implication of the size range theorem that we need to look at. Okay, I'm all ears. What's this last implication we need to unpack?
Well, remember how we were talking about alien life maybe existing at sizes we can't even comprehend?
Yeah.
What if those life forms weren't just different, biologically, but what if they operated on completely different principles of existence?
What do you mean?
Like, what if they don't even experience the world through those distinctions like we do?
Oh, wow. So, their reality is more about that anti-distinction thing.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
state of oneness where there's no real boundary between self and other.
So instead of individual beings, we might run into these, collective entities.
Yeah.
Vast networks that span scales we can't even imagine.
That's the kind of radical idea that a size range theorem makes you think about.
Right.
It pushes us to imagine life and consciousness that are completely outside our normal human perception.
I'm really starting to get why the source material calls this a mind-bending theory.
It is.
It's not just about how big things are. It's about expanding our whole understanding of what reality even could be.
And it has these huge implications for how we look for extraterrestrial intelligence.
How so?
Well, if we only search for signals or patterns that we already understand, from our own physics and biology,
Right.
we might miss something amazing.
It's like trying to catch a radio wave with a telescope, right?
Exactly. The size range theorem suggests that we need new tools, new ways of thinking,
I see.
if we even want to grasp the possibilities.
Wow, that's a good point.
And remember, the source material hints at this idea of a universal consciousness.
Oh, right.
This idea that consciousness itself might be built into reality.
Okay, now that is mind-blowing. A universal consciousness. Could we actually communicate with this? Like mega intelligence?
The source material doesn't really give a definite answer,
Oh.
but it asks this question: what if science is the way we communicate with it?
Because science is based on universal principles.
Yeah. Laws that are true everywhere, regardless of size or perspective.
So if we could understand those laws even better, really grasp that underlying unity the size range theorem talks about,
Yeah.
could we connect to this universal consciousness?
It's a really fascinating idea. It shows how powerful the size range theorem is for exploring the biggest questions about, existence itself.
Yeah.
It encourages us to think beyond our human limitations and consider possibilities we might never have dreamed of.
I started this deep dive feeling a bit intimidated.
I get it. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But now I'm honestly just in awe.
Yeah.
The size range theorem has totally changed how I see the universe and our place in it.
It's a powerful framework, that's for sure. It reminds us that there's always more to learn, more to explore,
For sure.
and that the universe is full of amazing things, full of possibility.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening, we leave you with this. If the size range theorem is true, what does it mean for you? How does it change how you see your life, your place in the universe?
Good questions.
Keep asking those big questions, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
Because who knows what incredible discoveries are waiting for us out there in the vastness of reality.